So you need to really access the inner voice again, your true self, and then just check, what's true for me. And I think that's a great learning process right now for us humans. So, and we can't all do that. It's just we just need to do it. Hey, I'm Philipp Samor von Holtzendorff-Fehling, and you're listening to the Lifestylist podcast with Luke Story.
You're in for a treat today, guys. This is episode 373, How to Charge Your Home, Food, Supplements, and Pets with Quantum Energy. Our sponsors today are paleovalley.com, where I get some incredible snacks on an ongoing basis. In fact, they make one of the only protein bars that actually tastes good and is low sugar. So that's something to check out there. earthechofoods.com/Luke Story. Get some of that cacao bliss, some of the other goodness over there. And then finally, magbreakthrough.com/Luke for some incredibly potent magnesium. Before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that you can find the show notes with clickable links and links to complete transcripts at lukestory.com/Leela. That's lukestory.com/Leela, Leela. And when you get to those show notes, make sure to join the Leela Quantum Tech Telegram group. It'll be linked there at lukestory.com/Leela. Okay, today in this episode, I'm connecting with Philipp Samor von Holtzendorff-Fehling. Try saying that a few times quickly. He's the founder of Leela Quantum Tech, which provides quantum energy and frequency products to support health and well-being. And those products are currently sitting all over my office. They're pretty badass, as you're about to learn. Now, Philipp's been on the show before, and I got to say, every time I connect with him, he's onto some incredible new innovations in the world of healing technology. In fact, I just saw him in Florida at the Biohacking Conference, along with my friend Todd Shipman. Now, I didn't see this talk, but Todd relayed the following story to me with great excitement. So there's something you're going to learn about called the Leela Quantum Bloc or the Leela Infinity Bloc. And it's this gold sort of cube that you can put items in or even put your hand in, and it has all of these miraculous effects. I know it sounds crazy, but it just does. So I run into Philipp and Todd, and Philipp's like, Todd, tell Luke what happened on stage. So when Philipp was doing his talk, he was demonstrating some of the benefits of this block. And Todd is notoriously allergic to shellfish. Can't eat it, can't touch it, breaks out in hives, rashes, the whole thing, right? Which is unfortunate for Todd because I'm a lover of crab and lobster and such things. But anyway, he can't eat it or go near it. So they do this experiment on stage where Philipp takes a piece of, I think it was crab. It was either crab or lobster. I think it was crab. Takes a piece of crab and rubs it on Todd's arm. This is during Philipp's talk. And as expected, he starts breaking out in this rash all over his arm where the shellfish touched it. Then they put Todd's hand in the quantum block and they repeat the same experience and he has no reaction. Nothing. And he's had this allergy for a long time. So this is the kind of mystical cosmic stuff that goes on every time I talk to Philipp. So I was excited to sit down and have a conversation with him again. We talked about a lot in this episode. I feel like my notes here are pretty long, but I'm going to rattle off a few of them just to give those of you that are curious about what you're in for a taste of this conversation. So here's a summary of the topic breakdown. How Leela captures and magnifies energy into physical items. The Leela Quantum Tech Healer Network. How Philipp overcomes the challenges of helping skeptics understand this complex quantum technology, which is really a lot of the basis for this episode. Then Philipp shares what is currently being studied and certified by the BESA Institute and IGEF, some of the lab testing that they're doing around this type of technology. How quantum technologies can be validated through specific testing methods like those just mentioned. How EMF protection clothing works. The testing that's been done around EMF protection, including their baby cap, which I think is really cool. I'm all for EMF protection devices that have to do with kids and mothers-to-be, et cetera. So we talk a bit about that. And we go a bit deeper into the Leela Quantum Tech clothing, which is my absolute favorite clothing to wear while flying, for example. We talk about how it protects against EMF, but also bacteria and microbes. And some of the other profound uses of this technology, like energizing water and houseplants and even your pets. We break down the cottage industry of cell phone stickers and so-called quantum products and why most of them, unfortunately, don't work. and the wild technology that I just mentioned about Todd Shipman's shellfish allergy, the Quantum Bloc. There's a lot of content around that because it's just super trippy. It's far out stuff and so interesting to me. Hopefully you'll find it to be the same. And then finally, various protocols for using the blocks, including how they can intensify the taste of your food and even extend its shelf life. Again, you can find the show notes for this episode, which you're probably going to want to look into, at lukestory.com/Leela. And for those of you that are hearing about some of the things we talk about today, and you're like, wow, I want to try this. I've wrestled a discount out of our guest, Philipp. The discount code is Luke10. That gets you 10% off everything at the following website, leelaq.com. That's LEELAQ.com, leelaq.com. The code there is Luke10. So thank you so much for joining me on yet another fascinating journey on the Lifestylist podcast. Enjoy the show, and I'd be deeply grateful if you felt called to share it with a friend or two or even three. I'll be back this Sunday with a bonus rebroadcast of my recent appearance on Daniel Vitalis' show, WildFed, where we talk about my experience in hunting and reconciling compassion and the hunt, followed by next Tuesday's episode about the world's last hunter-gatherer tribe. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, Philipp, welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm always excited to talk to you because every time we speak, you have some new development with your technology. And in the world of all things quantum devices and tech, I'm just a huge fan and totally obsessed with it. Hence, for those watching on the video, I have my Leela Quantum Tech t-shirt on today, which I wear only on special occasions because I don't want to have to wash it too many times. So I wore it today because there's a bunch of Wi-Fi in here and I wanted to be super energized, and I charged it in the Infinity Block too. So I'm feeling pretty good. So tell us, I guess let's start with, what is Leela Quantum Tech as a company? What are you guys doing with your technology? And then how did you find yourself in this field?
Yeah. So what we do is basically two things. On one end, we have developed the technology that can imprint pure quantum energy into any object, and it can transmit pure quantum energy. So that's just that. And with that comes the ability to actually also leverage certain frequencies. So we work with a network of really absolutely top-notch healers together to create certain frequencies that help people, animals, and plants with various use cases. And so we can combine basically the technology and the different frequencies to create products that help people in their daily lives, help animals, help plants. And in a way, our mission is to help, do our part to help heal humanity. Sounds pretty big, but again, it's our part. There's tons of other people and great companies that do their part. But that's really our mission in our world. That's what we try to do.
And how did you get involved in this? And I used to work in telecommunications for the baddies making cell towers, and now you're redeeming yourself, making energy technology that actually supports people. But how did you get involved in this? And what was the beginning of? What was your first device and the first time you realized, okay, we're really onto something cool here?
Yeah. So, decades ago, I realized that there's way more to life than just the material world and you have your job and you go to bed and next day you go to your job again and then you do that to pay your bills. That's really not what we're here for. And I started to really develop that out. And then I met my wife, in 2005, who was actually born with the ability to see aura, and she never lost this conscious divine connection, which means, the access to, all the databases, you can call databases or Akashic records, however you want to call it, to pull information out and basically to see and know things that most of the people have no access to anymore, which is not rightly phrased because we all have access to it. We just don't know how to access it anymore. And yeah, so I worked in telecom. Indeed, I was actually even a vice president at T-Mobile International and T-Mobile US. And at some point, I just couldn't do that anymore. It was, I had to live from just within, from my heart. And I couldn't really do it there, right? Because it was just such a stretch. You had to be in this world. And then when I came home, I was the real me. So, but at the same time, for a few years, I realized, okay, I still need to be there because of whatever reasons. I don't know. Maybe it was just to also shine some light in organizations like that. But maybe it was also to gain knowledge about, certain technologies out there. And now I can see it from the other side, really, about EMF, what we can do. And I think this whole healing journey of myself, remembering who I am, which I had totally forgotten myself, with knowing what people struggle with, really, because I've went through it myself, that led to the fact that we developed these products. And one nice side effect was, or side influence, I must say, was my wife, who had the chronic Lyme disease, which was diagnosed 5 years after she actually had it. And, people say you can't heal it, but hey, she doesn't have it anymore. None of it, no symptoms, nothing, no side effects. And yeah, it actually sent me on a journey to find the best possible stuff to help her. She had her own capabilities, but that was kind of my mission in a way. So it became really my passion, my hobby. And out of all that, I think Leela Quantum Tech emerged ultimately.
What were some of the things that she did to overcome Lyme? Just as a side note, I know I've done a lot of shows on it and will continue to do so, but each person I meet that's overcome Lyme seems to have had somewhat of a unique strategy. There's not like a one silver bullet for it that always works for all people.
Yeah. So it's a great question. And I think the best approach is to look at it holistically and really figure out, okay, what are the root causes behind it? And those are different from person to person. But I think you need to go into this open-minded and figure out, okay, so what of all the options out there is something that resonates with me and helps? And then you'll find different things, right? So I guess on her way, in between, the Rife machine was something that had helped her for a while. She actually turned vegan, which I don't think being vegan is something that everybody needs to be. It was just for her specific situation, the right thing to do. It helped her quite a lot. Climate change helped quite a bit. And then certainly energy work was another ingredient. And, at the time she was even in Seattle speaking with Dr. Klinghardt in his office.
Oh, wow.
Who was like the guru, the Lyme disease guru, right? And they would even in her office to regular people recommend shamanic work and stuff like that. Now, that was nothing new for my wife, obviously, but I found it very interesting that they would recommend that. And I think that's something I can pass on. You want to look at it holistically. So she looked into, okay, so what are the root causes within me? Why is this happening? Because we're all creators. We create our lives. It's not that it just happens to us. So if you have that mindset and then you dig, you'll get there and then you'll be able to solve it. And yeah, of course, this technology helps quite a bit with things like that. We won't say here it heals anything, but because the body can heal itself, but this helps your body to be in a state that it can actually perform that very task.
Yeah, it's interesting that she went to see Klinghardt. I mean, he's a very sought after guy. For those that don't know him, he's just one of the leading natural healing doctors in the world. And a friend of mine, Brian Hoyer, who's been on the show, I think has done some work with him or knows him. But what Brian told me was that Dr. Klinghardt won't even work with someone unless they deal with the EMF in their house, because he found over the years that, as many of the tools as he has that are useful and effective would be rendered less effective or sometimes ineffective if people were in a really high EMF environment, people living in cities where there's cell towers all over and stuff. So that's kind of wild that you ended up, inadvertently getting involved with the technology that's really helpful, in harmonizing the field of EMF.
Yes.
Which of course is its own thing, because one school of thought is that to get rid of EMF, the only option is to block it completely, which is something I just did in our house here in some of the rooms. And then the other school of thought is it's just energy. It's just energetics, right? You're just filling your ambient environment with energy that's not harmonious with your biology, but there are things like this and other things out there that can actually harmonize the field. And then you get into kind of the spooky woo-woo land. But yet in that woo-woo land, some of the stuff works. And that's, I think, the interesting thing about it, and why I like interviewing people like you that are not afraid to go into the realms of energetics, because I'm sure having a company in that space is more difficult than having a supplement, right? You're like, hey, here's a great B vitamin. It's like, it's quantifiable. You could measure your blood plasma and know that you have more B vitamins in you because you just took some. Whereas in the energetic space, I know you're doing some testing. We're going to talk about that, but it's a little more ambiguous. But congratulations on her overcoming that. It's really a brutal one for so many people.
Thanks. Yeah, it is. So we know it can be very, very brutal, and especially because you don't often realize that someone has something, but they feel just so bad, have this constant fatigue, and they just feel miserable. So yeah, we've actually gotten a lot of great feedback and testimonials from our customers in regards to Lyme disease. We never asked for that. It just came that way. And after we've gotten a whole bunch, we said, okay, now we're actually going to run a whole study on it. So we're about to start a really big study in regards to chronic Lyme disease patients here in the US.
Oh,
just
nice.
because the feedback was so overwhelmingly positive, like that fatigue went away. And, someone called me and said, his wife has the chronic Lyme disease, or his partner, and said, oh my God, all this fatigue is gone and she's so energetic. And now she has, she wants to do stuff again. And it's like, this changed our lives, like literally. And it's just heartwarming to hear something like that. And, that's also actually something that Klinghardt's philosophy is, right? He says you can't really get rid of the Lyme. Okay, I don't want to go there, but his message is you just need to become so strong that whatever you have there doesn't bother you. And that's kind of the same thing. Like, we know from Roman, who's like the healer wunderkind in Europe, Roman Hafner, we work with him a lot. And he says, this energetic environment is Lymes just can't stay there. It's just such a high vibration. They just don't, they just can't exist there anymore. That's something, okay, that's his view from someone that can see energy fields and frequencies to a very granular level from birth. So now we're going to actually see what the study shows.
That's so cool. I love when people like you conduct studies, because then you have something that's quantifiable and concrete, right? I just believe in energetics. I'm a longtime meditator, and I know there's much more than this physical world here because I have experienced it in so many different ways. But then again, it becomes anecdotal in many cases, right? Like, I don't know, I think I feel better. And then there's so much potential for placebo too. But when you actually see quantifiable evidence of something, I think even if there is a placebo component to something, I don't mind a placebo. Like, give me a pill and tell me it's going to work. And if I believe strongly enough it's going to work that it helps me, great. But I think that when someone who's using a technology like this, that if you see some quantifiable evidence that's tangible, then it helps instill a belief, right? And so your biology is going to respond to your belief, obviously, like the work of Bruce Lipton, the epigenetic factor of like how your thoughts really control your biology.
Yep.
And so if you're thinking to yourself, wow, I'm going to introduce this into my lifestyle in the hopes that it supports my health, and you really believe that it will because you've seen some proof, I would think it's going to potentiate the effect of it even more because you're believing in something that you've seen to be true.
Exactly. And actually even more so in a field like that, because it actually potentiates that. So, which is quite interesting. And we've also done actually several studies. I don't think there's any company out there in the energetic space that has put so much focus on studies, and whether it's dark field microscopy pictures, whether it's a decavol study, actually multiple of those, and then the EMF, heart rate variability, and all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of that we wanted to do because we know it works, right? And it's very scientific, frankly, those studies. What cannot be explained really in a scientific way today really is how exactly does this work? So everybody's still having a little bit of a hard time. It's like Ian Mitchell said the other day, it's like going back to the 1600s and you give someone a smartphone and then, have them tell you what it does and how it works. He's not going to be able to do that really, but it still works. So what we can do is we can scientifically measure the output, what it does, what are the results. And we know, there's a lot of people that want satisfaction for their brains. They need to see it. And not everybody can see and feel energy. So that's a focus of ours. So, we're not a big company, so we can't do these huge studies, but we do what we can. So everything actually that we make, that we can do and make work, we'll put it into studies just because also for our own interest, right? We want to know now with this Lyme, okay, so is this something, how does it work with everybody? Even though everybody is different, what are the common factors there?
Got it. If you listen to this show, you're probably like me. You do your best to eat a clean, healthy, organic diet. And that's easier to do at home when you can cook your own food or go out to a trusted restaurant. But the problem I've had is when I'm on the road or stuck out and about and I need a snack. This is where I'll tend to go off the rails and eat something that's less than optimal. So our friends over at paleovalley.com have solved that problem, y'all. They make some incredible beef sticks, and they are 100% grass-fed and grass-finished. You should know that many on the market claim to be grass-fed, but they're actually finished on grains. Little industry secret there. We'd like to avoid that. Why is 100% grass-fed important? Well, it's got more omega-3 fatty acids, vitamins and minerals, glutathione, and of course, bioavailable protein. Another important thing here is that Paleo Valley uses real organic spices to flavor their beef sticks versus conventional spices sprayed with pesticides, natural flavors, quote unquote, made from GMO corn or even worse, MSG, which is super toxic. They also ferment their sticks, which creates natural occurring probiotics, which are great for your gut health and make them easy to digest. So these guys have saved my life when it comes to snacking. I keep them in my bag all the time, so I'm never stuck anywhere without some food. You can get your hands on some at paleovalley.com. That's PALEOVALLEY, paleovalley.com. And the discount code there for you is Luke, and that saves you 15% off at paleovalley.com. It's interesting, too, that your wife is tuned into the energetics and shamanism and things like that. As you know, my fiance Alyson is, because those people are good test subjects. Those people that, like you said, we all have the capacity, but some people are more tuned into it, right? Seeing auras, feeling energy, having visions, communicating with guides, all this kind of stuff, which some of us only experience if we're doing plant medicines or we have some huge push that allows us to get past the veil of, what we commonly see. But I was telling you before we recorded, the minute I brought this, for those watching the video, this is the Infinity Block. And before we had the other one, this one's the Quantum Bloc.
Quantum Bloc.
Yeah, this one's just stronger. You can see it has more levels. But when I first got this one and brought it into the house, I put it on the coffee table and I, told Alyson this imbues anything you put in it with energy, with positive healing energy. And so I was putting my supplements in there and stuff like that, which I still do. We keep this on the coffee table, and anything new we introduce into the house that we're going to put in our body. And even I'll put in like a hamburger, you know what I mean? Like anything, my water in the morning, I make my special little elixir. I put that in there. So she sees me doing that, and she's not really into the biohacking stuff much. Here and there, she might be interested in something, but I think because she is tapped in that way, when I brought this into the house, I noticed she started putting all her flower essences and stuff from her altar. Yeah. And I'd see her over there charging her stuff. And I never told her, hey, you should do this. It's good for your health. She just took it upon herself. And I always see her putting stuff in there. And that was some more validation for me because she didn't have to read about it. She didn't have to look at a study. She didn't have to listen to our interview or talk to you or really know much about it. She was just like, yeah, I like this thing. This is cool. And so she always puts her stuff in there now, which is great.
That's awesome. And by the way, so And you guys there, you don't know this yet, but I exchanged this one. He had his own infinity block there, but then I put this one here, and this is the 4th generation, and it's now yours. So
Oh,
you
no
can,
way.
yeah, you can take that home, because what you
Yes.
what you didn't have, you just had one infinity block. But if you get the package, like basically 2, you can always upgrade your infinity block endlessly. Like literally in 200 years, your grandchildren could still upgrade the concentration of the field, which is quite fascinating. So, and it's also kind of needed, because we all develop, right? Or we become more transparent. That's kind of like our path here, right? And at some point, you adjust to the energy level that you have at home, or call it consciousness level. So, people are familiar with the David Hawkins book, Power versus Force, and the scale that they have. So the basic infinity block has, on that specific scale, a level of 733.
Really?
And this is 942.
What?
So
have we ever talked about David Hawkins' work before?
No, we have not talked about it.
That's funny, because he's my all-time #1 teacher for a lot of years. I used to go see him speak, and whenever I promote products, or I'm interested in something myself, I haven't mastered the muscle testing. Honestly, I haven't put that much effort into it. It's like a goal that's always hitting me in the face. Like, Luke, you have to learn this. But I do have a friend who's a kinesiologist master. I mean, he's been doing it for a long, long time, millions of calibrations. And when someone approaches me with a new product in the energetic, I'll usually send him an email like, dude, test this for me. And I sent him an email about the Leela stuff. I believed it because I believe in Ian Mitchell, who's been on the show a couple of times and introduced us. And I texted him, I was like, is this legit? I don't want to mess with it if it's not. And this is way back before I met you. And he's like, yeah. And Ian is super smart. And he's also very scientific and analytical. He's not like a woo-woo kind of guy. So I was like, all right, Ian vouches for it. But I have sent my friend a number of different things that I rep on my website, the Soma Vedic and Blue Shield and a bunch of different things. And they all came in over 600, which for those listening, 200 is like your level of integrity, right? So something is false if it's just to give them background, although I've done shows about this, but under 200 would be just unintegrous or false, right? And over 200 would be integrous. But then as you go up the scale, it increases in power. So if something calibrates, at 600 or 900, like that's something you definitely want in your life. But that's interesting that you guys came to that conclusion too.
Yeah. So because some people just use that scale as a reference. We usually look at it really from a different level, but it's sometimes good for people to put things in perspective. And so
that's funny though, because now I'm like, sometimes I have so much of the stuff in my house, because I always just am of the mind like more is better of everything, but it's not always the case. But I have FLFE on my apartment here, and I have it on my business and on my phone and different things like that. But it's always on in the house, and that brings your house to a level 540. And then there's a daily boost you can do that takes it to 600 for like 30 minutes. But the reason that they don't have it, you can't just have it on 900 all the time, is because it would be too much energy and it would be kind of weird for your nervous system to be in that field. I mean, imagine if you lived in, I don't know, a cave in the Himalayas, or a beautiful temple or cathedral or something. Like, you wouldn't be that functional because the level of consciousness is too high. So I'm wondering if I have like 2 or 3 of these and FLFE and the Soma Vedic and all these things, I wonder if I'm like pushing the energy too high in my place.
No, the FLFE is actually not needed at all if you have 2 of these in your home, because you have a level that's way higher, and that signal of the 560 that they provide isn't still there, but it has no effect because you're already way up here in that level. So what's down here is really just a signal, so it's not needed in that sense.
Oh, interesting.
But then also, the 942, that's inside here.
Oh, okay.
And so you're not the inside here, and immediately you put your hand in there, you'll feel this pretty instantly, like within 3 seconds, you'll already feel.
That's wild.
So outside here,
that's wild, dude. It's like tingly.
Yeah. So I thought you'd be ready for the next level, and you just jump over a few.
That's super trippy. Wow.
Yeah, but so then, your whole house, will not be inside here, but through the field of the 3 blocks, it'll have quite a field. So we at home, we're roughly at a 900, our whole house. But we've worked with this for quite some time, so it's amazing, right? So big, and you feel always like that's the beauty about this upgrading process, that you will feel, okay, I'm ready for the next level. Like you will know. And I would totally agree with the FLFE guys. You don't want to put someone in a house with this for a longer period of time who's just not there yet at all, like has never heard about energy, never done any energy work and all that. It'll still be fine because it's super harmonious with the human cells and also certainly with our consciousness, but it just may trigger too much. It's just the energy level would be too high for a lot of people instantly. And that's why, we have these different levels. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. What a trip. I love this world. So many places I want to go with this. I want to digress a little bit. So on your site, you have like a group of healers, right?
Yes.
I think is your wife on there?
She's one of them.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you mentioned this character, Roman Hafner, earlier, who's a pioneer in the development of application in quantum energy, who developed the Y pyramids in Europe more than 10 years ago. And I'd not heard of the Y pyramids. What was up with that?
So you probably didn't hear about it because it was never offered in the US. So he is in Europe, basically based in Europe. And I think all over Europe he's known. Like I think he's been invited to every podcast that you could find in Europe because he was born with the ability to see everything in frequency and energy fields. So, but in a way that's like unheard of. Like, I don't think there's anybody else in the world that has this granular viewing that he has. He can literally isolate any and all frequencies from other frequencies, move them somewhere. And when he was born, he had to learn the physical seeing, like how I see your dog now or the chair. That's matter that we see, right? That's normal to us. And now we're all trying to learn the other seeing, right? That's, has been our journey. So for him, it was different. He had to learn the quote unquote physical seeing just because he would just see a human and would see the heartbeat. He would see the heat. He would see the frequencies. He could see if something is wrong with intestines. So already as an 11-year-old, like he was actually put on stage from like this, I don't know, calling like the energy esoteric guru in Europe at the time, Kurt Tepperwein, which Europeans will know. Like he's very famous, actually. He always had at least 300 people in his seminars. And then Roman's mother took Roman to that seminar because she thought, I have to do something with this kid, right? He has all these abilities, but I can't help him really. So they went to court, and then they said, okay, so what can Roman now learn from you? And the guy said to this 11-year-old kid, Roman, I can't teach you anything, but I can learn a lot from you. And then that was the first day of that seminar. That was a whole week. And each day for a whole hour, he put this 11-year-old boy on stage, and all the 300 people there could ask questions about their lives, about their illnesses and all that kind of stuff. And he fixed the stuff. He gave all the answers and everything. That was kind of where he started, and where they realized, it's a real gift that he has that, so he can help people. Yeah, so he's a dear friend, actually, and a wonderful person. And he developed this Y pyramid, which basically also concentrated quantum energy. That was over 10 years ago, but it wasn't nearly as advanced as this is now. But he has helped us with the development, and we're working with him with frequencies, because before we do scientific testing or release anything for even a test with people, we always have him check first. And which is great, right? Because you get the right frequencies, and exactly, okay, this stuff works. Okay, then you can go into the actual real testing, have him view over it, and then do scientific testing also. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, what an ace in the hole to have someone like that, especially before you go spend a bunch of money on scientific testing, right? So in product development, you have kind of the first, I don't know, the first barrier to get through. Someone like that that's really tapped in and go, okay, cool, this is valid. Now let's move into, back into the linear to see what's going on, on the scientific level.
Exactly.
Very cool. So when it comes to calibrating something, like when you had this calibrated using kinesiology and, as a general point of reference, using the Hawkins scale, which of course is just an arbitrary way to quantify consciousness. Who do you have that's like doing testing? Like, how do you find out the number on something?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So obviously, we can ask our healing networks. So we have some really special guys and girls, actually, not just Roman there, that can all do these tests. But this specific test was actually performed by Ian Mitchell. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's funny. Our boy. That's funny. That's really interesting because I'm pretty sure I turned him on to David Hawkins. I sent him a bunch of audio that I had of Hawkins, and I don't think he had heard it before. And he was texting me like, "Oh my God, dude." He was flipping out because I think Ian, he's, as I was saying earlier, he's very scientific and linear, but he's also in this realm as well. And so I think he really resonated with the Hawkins work because Hawkins was very much from both. I mean, he was a psychiatrist for 50 years, right? I mean, he was a medical doctor, but also a spiritual teacher. So he kind of had, a hand in both of those worlds. So it made sense that Ian was like, yes, this is the guy. That's really cool. That's funny. Well, maybe I'm going to start emailing Ian. It's my other friend is really busy, and I feel bad just sending him stuff all the time, like test this. But it's useful. I mean, it's a great skill to have in a friend or something to learn yourself, because if that person's good at it and gets reliable results, you can save yourself a lot of wasted time and energy pursuing a spiritual teacher or book or path or modality, or spending your money on a technology that doesn't work.
Yeah.
In fact, there was one EMF thing, and I honestly forget the name of it at the moment. I don't want to disparage anyone, but there was one product that someone sent me, and I don't know, their website looked good, and I thought good enough. It wasn't too expensive. And I sent that to my friend, and it calibrated, I think it was over 200, but it was like 205, which is like, probably going to have a negligible effect on someone's health. And then I have, the Blue Shield EMF thing or the Soma Vedic, they're like 560, 600. So I'm just like, well, if I have something better, why have the subpar product on my site? In the interest of not wasting someone's money. But I got to learn how to do the testing. I mean, it's just every time I have a conversation like this, I'm just like, dude, I can't rely on someone. But now I'm going to start emailing or texting Ian, test this, test that. It really is. It's almost like with the kinesiology testing in the realm of, non-local phenomenon, right? Not like holding a vitamin on your chest and then you test strong or weak, which a lot of chiropractors do and stuff. But Hawkins discovering that it's a non-local phenomenon, that you can ask any question in consciousness from all time to infinity, and then, apply that logarithmic scale to it. I mean, it's almost too good to be true. I think it goes over people's head. I mean, I'm just like, why isn't everyone testing everything all the time? You watch the news and CNN says yada, yada, yada. It's like false, which you're probably going to get most of the time in that case. But even on the other side of things, in the, spiritual and new age communities, there's also a lot of falsehood there. And so many people are misled, into teachings that aren't valid or supportive, and sometimes even negative, So interesting.
I mean, it's the time right now from my perspective, it's the time for these types of energies, and it's time for humanity to remember, but it's really also to figure out, okay, so what's true in our heart? Because in the end of the day, we don't even need like a test like that if we can just truly find our inner voice again and then know things. And hey, there's, for each topic that's going on right now in the world, that's like a topic people talk about, you have all these extreme perspectives, right? They're completely the opposite of one another. And then you have a lot of it in between also. And people are overwhelmed with it, right? Because their brains can't figure it out anymore, right? So you need to really like access the inner voice again, your true self, and then just check, what's true for me. And I think that's a great learning process right now for us humans. So, and we can't all do that. It's just like, we just need to do it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I think sometimes it's disempowering for us to think we need someone else to tell us if something is valid or supportive of our health or well-being, right? It's like outsourcing everything. So that's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. So back to the research on your site. So I was on there this morning, and you have these certifications like from a company called the BESA Institute and then IGEF.
Yep.
What are the means of testing that they use when you want to see like, okay, this thing we made works? Like, how
Yep.
do they actually conduct these tests? And you were mentioning there are some new ones coming out that haven't been published yet that you've done. Tell us like all about the testing, because I find that to be really fascinating.
Exactly. So right now you probably have only 15 to 20% of all the studies that we've performed on the website, because they've been in translation process and all of that and still being written.
Because a lot of them are in Austria and whatnot, right?
Yeah. And so the BESA Institute is in Austria. It's the largest independent biofeedback and biosystems analysis research and testing institute in Europe. So they are out of Austria. So they speak German just by nature. And, then they translated everything. But then, there are certain things that you don't want to publish because the words and the grammar are just not ideal. So we've had to go through this additional round of, real translation. And the EGIF Institute is actually based out of Spain and Dublin, Ireland. And so let me just start there maybe. So the EGIF Institute is the largest research and testing institute for EMF in Europe. So since decades, they've been doing research on EMF and testing devices and, providing perspectives, expert opinions. And they do two different types of tests. So the T-shirt, for example, and our hats and caps and all that, they tested all that for the actual EMF blocking effect, and which they all block way over 99.9% of any EMF, whether it's microwaves, 4G, 5G, 3G, etc. That's very easy to test, actually. I mean, that's really not rocket science. And
do they kind of make a Faraday cage to eliminate signals and then introduce a signal and try to break through the fabric with it? Or do you know how they...
I actually don't know exactly how they do it, but it's not really rocket science, because to some extent you can even test that at home, right? Just take the T-shirt and measure, with your own device that...
Or try to call your cell phone, right? Like that's a way. Like I have the EMF cap here for those watching in the video. I haven't tried it.
So
I haven't tried it yet, but couldn't you just put your cell phone in here, like in full like operational mode, and then call it from another phone? And
you could, and we actually had some people test it and then randomly send us notes like, "Hey, this I couldn't call my phone. That's so cool." However, there seem to be differences between, for example, the iPhone 12 now, which appears to be way stronger from an antenna perspective than others. So that shouldn't be the only test. You should really use the frequencies, because again, it doesn't eliminate 100%. So we've tested it with iPhone 9, 10, 11, but with 12, I actually wouldn't be too sure that there's not a signal going through. But again, with your measurement device, you'll see how it all is even loud right next to your Wi-Fi router. Then you put the T-shirt in between. I uploaded a video at some point on our Telegram channel, and then instantly, it goes all down. You can literally see it.
I love that.
Yeah. So, but that's easy to test. So what's more difficult to test is something like the capsule that you have, or that I have here.
Twinsies.
Or the...
when I came in here today, I was like, I literally have all his shit on. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like a walking commercial. But I don't know. I was getting dressed and I was like, oh yeah, actually I should wear the EMF shirt, because I forgot about it. I wear it when I fly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's also antimicrobial and bacterial, right?
Yeah.
So you don't get BO in it, because it kills the microbes that would make BO. And an airplane is like the worst place to probably be EMF wise.
Yeah.
But not to interrupt, but I want to tell you one thing, a good hack with this that I discovered with the cap. It's, by the way, it's super comfortable and it's super stretchy, which I like. I've had some of these before, and I know they're too tight, so I don't like sleeping in them. But since we're in our temporary apartment and there's a cell phone or cell tower right down the road, I sleep in this. But then I also discovered that I can pull it down over my eyes and it acts as an eye mask and blacks out the room because I don't have blackout curtains yet. So this thing is freaking badass.
And you're the first one actually telling us that you use it as an eye mask.
Yeah, you can put it on your site. Like if you pull it down low enough, it goes to and it doesn't cover your nose. And it's actually more comfortable than most eye masks. Like Blue Blocks makes a really comfortable eye mask, but most of them out there, I don't know, they dig into your face and they're just weird. They're too thick and, you wake up in the morning and all the circulation is like cut off where the band is on your head and they're just a train wreck.
Yeah.
I've been into making superfood and super herb smoothies and elixirs for many, many years. And one thing that's always been a bit problematic about it was sourcing the individual ingredients and making sure that they're of the highest quality and then putting them together in one drink that doesn't taste disgusting. It's been a lot of years that I've been working on this, and I don't think I've perfected it. So I was extremely ecstatic when I connected with this brand called Earth Echo Foods and a product they make called Cacao Bliss. Because what they've done is taken some of my favorite superfoods and put it in a pre-made powder that I can simply mix or add into any other drink. So in this powder, we of course have raw cacao that supports your body's natural ability to regulate blood sugar, also keeps you satiated and reduces the number of carbohydrates you absorb. Turmeric, which we know fights inflammation related to physical exercise, improves digestion, provides pain relief, dissolves stubborn fat, and even soothes anxiety and stress. Then black pepper, to maximize your results by increasing the bioavailability of the turmeric by up to 2,000%. And we've got MCT powder to help you feel satiated longer with those healthy fats, making it easier for your body to release stubborn fat deposits. Cinnamon to further improve your body's ability to digest glucose and reduce your desire for sugary sweets, which I have a lot of. Then we've got monk fruit, which satisfies your sweet tooth as well as sugar with 0 calories and no ill effect on your blood sugar. Coconut nectar that acts as a prebiotic and feeds the healthy gut bacteria in your lower intestine. Then we've got lucuma, which adds a delicious caramel-like flavor and also adds a wound healing property to the drink. Then they've included some mesquite, a sweet and nutty superfood that doesn't cause blood sugar spikes and helps to boost your immune system. And finally, last but not least, some Himalayan salt, which adds to the flavor profile and also contains over 84 minerals and trace elements while helping to balance your pH levels. So this drink is incredible. It's really good for you. It tastes delicious. It's like candy without the candy. If you're ready to check it out, which I hope you are, here's what you do. Go to earthechofoods.com/Luke Story. That's EARTHECHOFOODS. earthechofoods.com/Luke Story. The code there for your Cacao Bliss is Luke15, and that saves you 15% off. So you're looking for Cacao Bliss at earthechofoods.com/Luke Story. Back to the
EGIF.
Yeah, EGIF in Dublin and Spain.
Yes.
So what are they up to?
So that is the one testing the blocking effect. And then they measure the heart rate variability if they test, for example, the capsule or something like the Quantum Bloc. Because in that sense, you don't want to block EMF because if you have this device at home, just think about it. You couldn't take a phone call, right? If you blocked it all off. So this harmonizes and neutralizes EMF, and then you can measure that. For example, with the heart rate variability. So they had 12 test persons, I think 12 or 14, and then they measure the heart rate variability of these people, measure the heart rate variability once Wi-Fi is introduced and other EMF. And heart rate variability, by the way, is connected directly to the autonomic nervous system, right? So there's a direct correlation there. And then you introduce the device and then see what it does. And in 100% of the cases, the heart rate variability optimized. And it was quite interesting study because we also found out something that we knew, that not everybody is affected equally by EMF. And we actually had one test person that wasn't impacted at all really by EMF. And so she must have been a very healthy person, very tuned into herself, because we know that, with your consciousness, you can you don't have to be affected by EMF, right? None of our healers is affected in any way. They could sleep under a Wi-Fi tower. It wouldn't maybe be the nicest view, but energetically it wouldn't do anything, right? And that was the case also with that one woman in the study. She was not affected by EMF. She still had great results with a capsule, for example, in that sense. But everybody else had really significant impacts actually of EMF. So, and people out there that say EMF has no impact, it's actually false. It really is false, and it can be looked at in multiple thousands of studies, right, that have shown it. It's a matter of finding the studies that is difficult, but
yeah,
those exist.
The suppressed information.
Yeah. And so that's what EGEF tested, the heart rate variability. And then the Besa Institute, those are actual doctors that went through their own transformations from just Western medicine to a completely holistic approach. And they developed an advanced decavol method, which tests your bioenergetic state of your physical body at the acupuncture points. And it's amazing. It's an absolutely, once you understand how that method works, and it really works, it's fantastic. There's also videos out there that people can look into just typically about this decavol method. And theirs is even more advanced, so they can test also EMF. They've done tons of tests. Actually, they had even people in an electric car and then gave them tablet, iPhone, all that kind of stuff, and then tested them and then gave them the Quantum Bloc, for example. And yeah, in 100% of the cases, our products were able to fully regulate out the bioenergetic state of the person. And they also had 3 tests, one before, one with exposure to, let's say, certain pesticides and herbicides, for example, or EMF. And then they tested once the product was introduced. And in 100% of the cases, actually, the measurement with our devices was always the best. So they always came in already impacted by something, right? Because most people are just impacted, bad air, bad food, bad EMF, all that kind of stuff that we live in. And so you have to be already living a very conscious life to not be very impacted. But so, that's what they've tested. They've done lots of different studies. And with the Quantum Bloc, for example, they've even done studies where they tested, a whole family, including their rabbit, how they do and how the impact of EMF and other stuff is in their home. And then they introduced the Quantum Bloc and then they tested again. And same results. It's you can measure that stuff.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that you guys are doing that. I can't wait to get that on the site too. Maybe I bet by the time this airs, some of the new studies will be up there too.
Yes. Yeah,
which will be cool. Yeah, the HRV is really meaningful to me. I love tests with HRV because, it's a clear picture of the balance between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, right? So your vagus nerve being the parasympathetic, and whatever the other one is, I forget at the moment. But when your heart is beating with the highest irregularity, it sounds like that would be bad, but that's actually what you want. And so I've noticed when I test my HRV, like using the Oura Ring or something, if I've had crappy sleep or I've been traveling, my HRV when I sleep will suck. If I'm really tapped in, my HRV goes up, and it's always, predictable pretty much. I kind of know when I'm going to look at the reading on my ring. I'm like, oh, I know last night was a rough night. And sure enough, so that one's a really cool thing to be able to quantify. What about live blood cell analysis? This one I always find really neat too, where they take a pinprick of blood, put it in a microscope, and if you're compromised by EMF, pesticides, whatever, your blood cells are all clumped together, looking super ugly and weird, and then you expose it to whatever field or intervention, and then they're flowing beautifully and all looking how they're supposed to be. I think you guys have done some of that too.
Absolutely, yes, and we will do even more of that. People really resonate with that, and yes, you can measure real physical impact. So that's actually, dark field microscopy is a tool that a lot of doctors in Europe actually still use. It's very common. Most people know about it there, and it's just one thing they look at. And Yeah, I mean, you put your hands in the Quantum Bloc, and already after 5 minutes, the picture completely changes to the better. Like we've had just amazing pictures, and those money rolls, that's what it's called, where the cells are all clogged and they really look like money rolls. That's what you do not want to have in your blood, because that means higher risk for stroke, heart attack, any type of heart disease and other stuff. So you really don't want that. And then already after those 5 minutes, you could see same person, the blood cells really nicely separated, beautifully aligned. That's what you want to see. And yeah, so we were really happy when we saw that. And that was something that we didn't know at first. Okay, so how is the physical impact showing on something like this? And how long does it actually take? Do we need to wait for half an hour or an hour? No, it's literally, we already did those tests after 5 minutes. It was very rapid.
That's badass. Now, when you sent me the latest version, the Quantum Bloc here, you sent me some instructional videos that were pretty specific about time frames and things like that. And I'm like, again, I'm the guy that has to try everything to the extreme. So I would just intuitively set, like if I make my coffee in the morning, I put in here, for example, I would just set it in there for 10 minutes or something. But in your video, it's like, no, you just put it in for like a minute or something. Like what are some of the protocols specifically with the Quantum Bloc and the Infinity Bloc?
Yep.
What are some of the types of things you could put in there? How long do you put them in there for? What would be the detriment to putting something in there too long? Like often I put something in there, I just forget about it. I go in the other room and I come back, I'm like, oh man, it's been in there a half an hour. And of course I drink it anyway, but tell me a little bit about like the protocols that you recommend.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're bringing that up, because so just having it sit at home and to help with the energy at home, with the consciousness level, energy level, EMF protection, all that, you don't need to do anything. So that's obviously super, super simple. But then, the beauty about this is you can charge any object with pure quantum energy, and actually permanently, like this capsule. If I put it in, I charge that, and then this transmits pure quantum energy too. So that's what I can do. And then obviously with groceries like coffee, raspberries, strawberries, nuts, for example, all of that you can put in here as well. And you basically neutralize the negative or potentially harmful frequencies of that. And depending on the strength level, there's indeed some recommendations that we have on the website in terms of charging times, because you don't want to overdo it. Whereas I must say the most important rule is in regards to metals. So when you have a device like this works so fast and so instant. I mean, literally, you feel the field in here. With an object, same thing. And so with metal, you want to be a little bit careful that you don't overcharge it, just because there's just some implications that not a lot of the listeners would understand now, because they may not have yet a Quantum Bloc or Infinity Bloc, but you can basically overcharge the metal. It's not really a bad thing, right? It's still amazing energy. But if I were to then take this ring, for example, here, after I overcharged it in here and put it in the other one, in the Quantum Bloc, then I upgrade the Quantum Bloc with it. Now people may think, oh, that's so cool though. I want to do it. No, because the Quantum Bloc is specifically designed so that you can make quantum frequency medicine with it as well. And the strength level should stay exactly the same. So you can do two things. You can put pharmaceuticals in there and neutralize the potentially harmful frequencies and regulate it out. Not that many people would take pharmaceuticals, but in some instances, you just had an accident and you take a pain medicine, then it comes in very handy. But we may come into times where you don't have access to that, or you don't ever want to take pharmaceuticals. You may want to have the frequency though. So what you can do is you can copy the frequency of an XYZ product into, let's say, a card or a capsule or whatever other metal. Metal is good because it holds the energy really well. And then you just take in the frequency. So you actually don't need to take in the physical substance. And from the tests that we've done is that it depends really on the substance and everything. So there doesn't seem to be 100% equality, but it goes to 80, 90%. And that's, something that may come in pretty handy. So with the quantum block, that's what you do. You wouldn't use the infinity block for that because this is so strong that it actually adds homeopathic doses to a substance you would put in, and then it just may be too quick and too rapid for that. So that's why we rather recommend the quantum block for that.
So if one was to be so fortunate as to have both of these, the quantum block and the infinity block, and you had things like, supplements, pharmaceuticals, anything like that you're going to put in your body, would the quantum block be more appropriate then for those types of things?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really it. So the quantum block has on this scale, I think is at 570, no, 642, 672, something like that, on that David Hawkins scale, but it's exactly set for that sense, and it's already actually great to have that at home, also from an energy perspective, and it also neutralizes EMF and all that kind of stuff. But then at some point, just for the energy level, and if you want to charge object with more quantum energy, obviously this is then the much greater level, right? You can do a whole lot more with this. That is for this specific use case.
Got it.
And also for beginners, frankly, somebody that hasn't had a device like this before and hasn't really done so much energy work and is just getting into it, definitely go with the quantum block. It's already powerful.
Okay, got it. In today's world, one thing has become abundantly clear, and that is, as a collective and as individuals, we could really be well served by learning how to manage our stress. In fact, according to the American Psychological Association, chronic stress is linked to the 6 leading causes of death. That's how serious it is. So as we see the world changing around us, it's more important than ever, in my opinion, that we learn how to adapt to stress. And one of the most important molecules in the world to help the body and mind alleviate and deal with stress is magnesium. Now, most people think stress is caused by things like work, traffic, tense relationships, politics, and all that stuff. So they focus on solutions like meditation, going to the spa, going to the gym, trying to chill out. I'm a fan of most of those things. But what if the root cause of much of the stress we experience has to do with a deficiency in magnesium? Magnesium is the body's master mineral. It's so powerful that it helps to regulate over 300 critical reactions in the body, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, stress, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. So if there's one mineral you should make sure to include in your diet, it's magnesium. And it's very difficult to get an adequate level of magnesium in your diet due to the depletion of this mineral in our soils, etc. So that's why I'm really excited to tell you about a new magnesium product called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced in all my years of geeking out on this stuff. It's got 7 forms of magnesium, which is unheard of. So if you're ready to check it out, here's what you do. Go to buyoptimizers.com/Luke. And once you get there, the product you're looking for is Magnesium Breakthrough. If you use the code Luke10, you'll save 10%, but you can also save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. So again, go to buyoptimizers.com/Luke. That's BIOPTIMIZERS, buyoptimizers.com/Luke. So I'm kind of overkill then when I'm putting stuff in this one. I could be putting it in that, like a drink or food or something like that.
No, so I mean the vibration is ever so higher. So let's say let's take an example of a watch, like a golden watch. You put it in there, and then you'll literally feel and see how it vibrates so much nicer, so much finer. But if you after that put it in here, you'll see it's so much finer. You just need to watch the time. Don't let it in for too long. It's literally in this one here, 30 seconds is enough. I mean, for any metal, 30 seconds and you'll have, it'll be plenty, right? The charge of it. And if you put coffee in this one, I mean, also 30 seconds and not more, and 10 seconds would already be enough. It's just sometimes our mind is like, it cannot be done after 10 seconds, but it really can be.
Okay,
yeah.
that's handy. And then what about this thing here with the ampule, which you sent me a while ago, and it has these little titanium balls in here. For those watching the video, they're little kind of purple colored titanium balls. And I just thought it was cool. And like I said, Ian said, yeah, this stuff's legit. And then I interviewed you. But I don't know if it's psychosomatic, but when I wear this thing around, I notice it. I feel better. And so, I don't wear it every day, but definitely if I'm going to be in like a high EMF environment in a city or something like that, an airplane, I wear it. But I always like to give things to other people to see if they notice it, because I just, if I believe in something, then again, the placebo effect is high because I believe in it and it's doing something. But I turned your stuff onto my friend Khalil. He owns a place called Sun Life Organics. If you're staying downtown, I highly recommend it. It's in Austin. They make incredible superfood smoothies and stuff. But he's kind of always texting me like, "What's the latest shit? Like, I want the new stuff. What's up?" So I sent him this. He got the Infinity Block, and he got this necklace. And I saw him about 2 weeks ago, and he kind of is a little less woo-woo than me, but also open-minded. And he's like, "Luke, I don't know what the deal is with this stuff, but man, when I have this necklace on, I feel really good. It's just undeniable." I mean, he was totally sold just from trying it out. And he goes, "What's up with it? Explain it to me." Like, I have no idea. Like, I just know I like wearing it and I feel good too. But he said with both the block and the necklace, he was like, "Dude, this is incredible. Like, it's such a great thing." And I think he's going to put some of these in his stores too, because he has a chain of these places.
Yeah, he reached out actually.
Oh, he did?
He reached
good.
out and he said like, "This is amazing and this is so cool and this really works." And no, we're actually I actually have to reach out to him. So I was just so busy, but I think we wanted to work on a larger version, just, not more energy, of course, that's not needed, but so that he could put like 5 or 6 smoothies in there at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's something we'll do something customized.
That's rad. I didn't
yeah.
know that he had gotten in touch with you. That's very cool. Yeah, his shops are amazing. He has these giant amethyst crystals everywhere. He's like a crystal collector, but I mean like the biggest ones you've ever seen in your life, So he's really into the energetics of his locations. They're kind of little, almost like a healing cafe. You walk in and there's a really great energy, and then all of the ingredients are just pristine. I mean, he's got like a $28 smoothie. You know what I mean? It's like super high end stuff. But anyway, back to this. What's this thing called, and how does it work? And would there be any benefit to putting it periodically inside of one of the blocks, or is it just self-contained, good to go by itself forever?
Yeah, usually it's self-contained, and also the energy doesn't get out of it. So literally, like, as long as the material lasts, the energy will last as well. So there's no need to recharge it. With the one caveat, now here you have a 4th generation Infinity Block, which is way stronger. So if you put it in here now, then you'll upgrade this one also. So yes, you can do that, just because this is a higher level than it was originally charged with.
Oh, okay.
And again, just 30 seconds and you'll be good. And yeah, so the capsule itself, is charged with specific frequencies. So we call it the heal capsule. And so it contains 3 different main frequencies, some healing frequencies, and then also the frequencies of almost 80 vitamins, minerals, and organic plant extracts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that are all vital for the human body. So you have that in here. And then these titanium spheres, they're charged only with pure quantum energy. And they help boost the frequencies out further. So if you put it in, you could put it inside altogether. But, some people that have different types of capsules, because we have a few other capsules too with different frequencies, they shouldn't put the capsule with the spheres together in here to charge it, because then you'll have the frequencies also in the spheres. So just put them in separately.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. Full disclosure, I already put mine in there.
That's fine, because you don't have different ones, so you don't have to worry about it. And then it's all upgraded at the same time.
Okay, good. And then what about pets and like house plants? I know you guys make a collar. You sent me one for Cookie, and I misplaced it somewhere in my apartment because she never wears a collar, so I wasn't used to it, and so now it's in there somewhere. I just don't know where it is.
Yeah.
But have you guys had any anecdotal reports from pet owners or people with plants, or done any studies in that realm? Because I find that when it comes to testing things, I find the plant and animal kingdom really interesting because there's obviously no placebo.
Yes.
Other than the intention of the person doing the test, which I guess on the quantum level could impact the results, right? Because there's an observer of the phenomenon that could be influencing it. But I love when people do like, they grow some wheatgrass next to a router and it's super crappy. And then they introduce something like this, and then the wheatgrass is flourishing, like that kind of stuff. The FLFE guys did that, actually growing spinach in and out of their field. And it's kind of undeniable. It's really cool. Have you guys worked with the plant and animal world at all yet?
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it's amazing what you can see. So we actually have not just some anecdotal reports, but literally like so many reports in regards to plants. People in our Telegram group that had done a lot of testing with that. And we actually now have a different problem in our home. We had a plant actually in the room where we do yoga and meditate and all that. And when we first got that plant just didn't feel good there. It was a few years ago, and then basically almost died. And I still have pictures of it. Like it literally had, it looked terrible. It was almost totally done. And now it's so big, and it almost looks like a whole jungle, that plant on its own, and it's getting so big that we don't know what to do with it. It's crazy. So now we actually have to really figure out, okay, do we move it to another room that is even bigger, or do we cut it a little bit? Yeah, because plants resonate with that. When we introduced the blocks in our home, now we have an apricot tree that never gave any apricots ever, not even one. This year, first year where it's full of apricots. And yeah, we have a lot of other people that have done also these tests with, how fast do plants grow? They grow faster. They feel good. We have a greenhouse actually now that for testing purposes, where we introduced the infinity block right there. And it's just, we almost can't keep up with the growth. And, we're talking about life force energy, right? So you're increasing that, and plants need that as well as we do. And they're impacted by EMF and all of that as well, and bad soil. So you're introducing a source of energy that they need to grow and to be well. And that's basically what it is. But we'll do a more formal study on that as well as in regards to animals. So Besa did some animal testing, which was all 100% positive, but we want to do more. And we know that, with their dogs, people have reported some great results. And mainly it's, the quantum energy helps already, but then we have a specific heal for dogs frequency that we created together with Roman, actually. Or I must say, he created the frequency, and now, we basically converted it into a product where people can leverage it, right? Because, the beauty with a Quantum Bloc, to some extent also with this, is you could take this frequency card with this dog frequency, and you put it inside together with the dog bowl. And then after that, the dog bowl is charged with the quantum energy and this dog healing frequency, right? So
wow.
You can do that with other things. As well. And that's kind of a beauty. That's how you leverage these frequencies, and you're self-contained, right? You don't need us for that. It's like everybody can do it on their own.
Just with the dog card, how do you, so you can put it under their food bowl, but it's not something you would try to like affix to your dog somehow. Like you wouldn't strap it on your dog somehow and just keep it on there all the time. Would you put it like under their bed, or?
Yeah. So
how do you treat the dog? Because they move around and they're not going to wear a bracelet or like something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, one idea really is to take the card and put it underneath like a blanket or some spot where the dog tends to hang out, for a couple hours a day, and then while hanging out there, the dog has the benefit of that frequency. That's one way, and then the other way is really just you charge your dog bowl with that frequency. As an example.
Cool.
And then,
I'm going to do that with Cookie, because as I was telling you earlier, she's not enjoying Texas as much as we are. She's having a hard time here. I don't know if it's the allergies, the temperature, humidity, or whatever, but she's not as happy as she once was. And maybe it's because we're in a small temporary apartment and it's not like, a real house where she can run around. But I want to support the cooks wherever she is. She's probably sulking in the corner at the moment, unfortunately. So I'm definitely going to do that. Let's see, what else did I want to cover here? Have you noticed any difference, like if you're charging food or drinks have you or anyone noticed any difference aside from just the nutritional impact, but the actual taste of it? I don't think I've logged that. Like I put hamburgers in mine, stuff like I was saying, but I've never like taken a bite and then put it in and then afterward been like, oh my God, I've never thought of it. Has anyone done that or doing that?
Yeah, so we have this private Telegram group, and I'll provide you with the link.
Oh,
because
cool. That'd be great.
It's private, but obviously it's, the audience, everybody that's interested can join. You just can't find it on the search function in Telegram.
So we'll put it in the show notes. And actually, while I'm at it, you guys, the show notes for this episode can be found at lukestory.com/Leela, Leela, lukestory.com/Leela. So anything and everything we talked about that you want to look up for links will be there, as well as a 10% discount on the Leela technology. So you'll find that there too. And the code there is Luke10, but we'll put all that in the show notes. So carry on.
So help me again with that question.
Was about the taste of foods and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a beautiful thing, because in a way, this technology really helps people to get deeper connected with themselves again. And that's really part of our mission also, right? That's wonderful. If we hear, somebody just connected with him or herself more, that's when it made my day, right? And so you can do these taste tests. So people have your friends over and then they take some Fiji water and put it in one glass, and then they charge the Fiji water in here or some other water and have people do the blind test, right? Or they do it with raspberries and strawberries. And, we have forgotten to feel, to sense and all that. And that's a fun thing actually to do. And yeah, people that can see energy can even see the glass and know exactly, that one was charged, that one was not. But you can actually also do the taste test. And most people actually can taste the difference in the water, or if you put a raspberry in, something like that. Because in a way, what this energy does is it invites you as a human into your own completeness, and it supports you on that path. And that means physically, but also energetically. So my analogy is always, at some point I had this picture in my mind, and that's exactly like how I see it. We're all like riding a bicycle on a dirt road, and that's kind of like our life, and then we encounter obstacles and a flat tire and stuff like that. We're always moving forward to actually at some point, be way more connected with ourselves. Each milestone we connect more in a way. That's how the past passes. And then at some point there's this guy that's 50 yards away and saying, hey, why don't you come over here? I got a new Lamborghini sitting here. And this is actually on an Autobahn that was just newly built. Huh. So why don't you just hop in and just keep going? So you're having a parallel road and you go in there, you hop in and you're way faster. You can get there way quicker. And yeah, you can still have flat tires on the way. As a matter of fact, you will, right? Because that's life. Life has challenges and obstacles. That's part of it. But yeah, you have a tool that gets you there way quicker. And that's pretty much how it works. But that's how it works with animals, with plants as well, but also with a raspberry that you put in, because it sort of energetically optimizes it. And the same thing with crystals. So Khalil, he may have already tried out to put some smaller crystals that fit in there inside. And within a few seconds, and this one actually really probably not more than 20 seconds, you wake up crystals. Everybody knows that has had a crystal. Some crystals, if you go in a shop, don't resonate at all with you because they're almost like dormant. They're almost like they're not shining. If you put them in here, their full potential comes out. And it's pretty visible. That's wow. What that energy does.
That's badass. Wow, cool. Yeah, I'm sure Khalil has done that. By the way,
we need to build a way bigger one for his huge crystals.
I know, totally. Yeah, no, I guarantee you, he's done that because he's been so into it. Man, so what? I guess last thing is what's next? Like, if you could have any vision for further developments, whether it's products or just R&D stuff, what's on the horizon that we can look forward to that you haven't yet done?
Yeah, so we've been asked to do something specifically for kids because people said, this capsule is awesome, for example, but then kids tend to lose it, and it's also for little kids it's too big. So I think we'll look into that. Studies, as I mentioned, is something we'll put an even bigger focus on. And the third thing is really product testing, because what we know is, we're talking about these wellness benefits and all of that, but we let it shine through a little bit. If you put products in here, they are optimized. So now we will also look really into certain products, whether it's gas, for example, that gasoline that you put in and you optimize that, or oil, or a tennis racket. We had just recently someone, it's a golf pro. He charged his golf clubs with
really?
this. Yeah. And we know these products are optimized, but there's no real testing and studies around that. To what extent? Okay, so and what if I use gasoline in a motorbike, and when it's charged and I use it, so what's the performance difference? Like, we want to get into some of these tests because we find that very intriguing too. Yeah, and we just want to know more about it.
That's very cool. Speaking of motorbikes and moving around in a vehicle, do any of these have an application in a car to help with the fatigue and EMF and stuff that people like me, the sensitive folks out there, experience driving?
Yeah, I mean, you just put this one here on the back seat when you have a longer trip, and you'll be fine.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, I'm like, I can't believe I haven't tried that. Probably just because I don't want to take it out of the living room or like lose it or break it. But I've done a lot of hacks to my car. It's like it's grounded. I have these grounding straps that hang down at the back. I have a Somavedic in there, a Blue Shield in there. This other guy, Ibrahim, he's got this thing called biogeometry, and he has these little devices, energetic devices. So I have a bunch of stuff in the car. It might be helping, but I'm still not all the way there. Like if I have a long drive, especially into downtown Austin where there's a lot of cell towers and stuff, I get pretty fatigued. And it's only like 30 minutes. So road trips, driving out here, which is like a forever trip, 3 days or something, I was smoked from just being in a car. I think my car has the sensors in the bumpers.
Yeah.
Which is nice because you don't have to always like look over your shoulder. You can it'll tell you if you're about to hit someone. But I think the way those work is radar. They're like little radar dishes in the bumper. So I think my car is like a giant freaking radar dish. It sucks. Like the more modern your car is, the higher the EMF is, and it's just brutal. But I'm definitely going to try that. That's a really good idea.
But other than that, really, the capsule, for people that don't have this available, the capsule, really provides quite some energy.
Cool. Yeah, I should just always wear my freaking capsule. I think sometimes if I'm going to be doing something active, I'm like afraid my chain's going to break and I'm going to lose it or something. So I kind of plan out when I wear it and when I don't, but I'll just keep it on all the time. It's also like when people ask me about it, I haven't been able to, and maybe until now I have a little better understanding, but it's so laborious to try to explain it to someone. Oh, it's an energy thing. People are like, oh, whatever. I'm like, no, really. Ask Khalil. He wears his every day. So cool, man. Good things coming down the pipe. I'm really looking forward to, I think it's Pike actually coming down the pike or pipeline. But I'm looking forward to the new testing stuff. I'm hoping by the time this comes out that that research will be available on your site, because there's a lot on there already. But when you get into the live blood cell analysis and the HRV and things like that, that's super cool. So I'm looking forward to being able to share that with people, because it's, you want to be able to have people that aren't in the esoteric realm to be able to understand stuff like this. So thank you for also providing that part of it, which makes my job easier because I can just go look at the study. And it was in Austria. Austrians don't screw around, and you're German. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say Austria is like the hotbed of woo-woo-ness in the world. So that's very cool that you guys are doing that. With that, I've asked you this question before because you've been on one time before, but I'm going to ask it again because you might have a different answer. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings that have influenced your life or your work that you could share with us?
Well, 2 of those are part of our healer network. That's Roman Hafner and Agni. And the third one, I need to mention her too, because she's impacted me even more. That's my wife.
Nice.
Obviously, because, I think any wife has an impact, right? Quite an impact, and vice versa also. But that was, for me, quite a leap, right? Because as I said initially, I had totally forgotten what all exists. I think, 30 years ago, I had cut off my emotions and all of that. So you lose access to that whole inner world. And she really helped me to get through that. And yeah, so I think those are three teachers.
Beautiful.
And then someone else to read. Did I mention Eckhart Tolle last year? I don't read these books anymore, but at the time, certainly books helped me. And, that was the Power of Now, I think, was a good book at the time.
Huge for me too. I must have listened to that audiobook 500 times. I swear to God. I mean, I read the book a lot for years. I mean, just skipping to different chapters and just taking an excerpt. But I listened to that book and many others to just brainwash myself out of my stupidity and unconsciousness. Yeah, huge fan of Eckhart. Yeah. It's funny. I saw him a few years ago. Actually, God, it was a lot of years ago on my birthday at UCLA. And he was, he exuded so much peace that I actually fell asleep. I was like in my seat, just like, I was so zenned out. But then I was relaxed, but I was kind of bummed because I was like, what'd he say? What'd he say? He sat there in his little sweater, and his funny little laugh. But yeah, great, amazing human being, great teacher for people that aren't familiar. I think many people are by now. But yeah, he was a major part of my awakening for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just creating the framework for the fact that there's a you and that you can observe the phenomenon of your mind and emotions, which is of course inherent to most spiritual teachings, but the way he couched it was so practical and made so much sense, and it was so modern and just accessible. Yeah, great teacher.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, man. Thanks for bringing your dog too. She's around here somewhere. Hopefully Cookie gets inspired by her perkiness today. As I said, she's a little under the weather, but yeah, man, thanks for coming out. I appreciate you making the trip. So happy we didn't have to do this on Zoom. We have all the toys to play with, and it's just such a great experience always to see you. So thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. That's awesome.
Well, now would be a good time to thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you're a longtime listener, thank you for your support and your continued commitment to expanding your awareness, expanding your consciousness, and of course, learning about everything there is to know about building the ultimate lifestyle. If you're a new listener, my name's Luke Story. You can find out just about everything you want to know about me at a website called lukestory.com. I'm also quite active on Instagram, albeit quite shadow banned for some of my opinions. You can find me there at Luke Story. And for those of you that didn't catch this in the intro, our guest Philipp has been kind enough to roll out a 10% discount at Leela Quantum Tech for you guys. The discount code is Luke10 naturally. And the website where you can find all of the wacky stuff we just discussed in this conversation is leelaq.com. That's LEELAQ, leelaq.com. Again, the code is Luke10. I've got an upcoming event about which I am really excited. It's been fun to get back out in the world and connect with people face to face, give some hugs, kiss some babies, you know what I mean? Out on tour again, so to speak. I'll be at Meet Delic November 6th and 7th in lovely and super healthy Las Vegas, Nevada. But seriously, apparently the venue where we're having this psychedelic symposium of sorts is just incredible. It's kind of a art installation from what I understand. The name of it eludes me at the moment, but it's going to be incredible. I'll be there with Aubrey Marcus and Dr. Chris Ryan and Jason Silva and of course my lovely Alyson Charles and tons of other fantastic people. Oh, Duncan Trussell, he's going to be there. I'm excited to meet him. So that's going to be a wild event. You can find all my events if you're curious where I'm going to be hanging out in public, where we can actually get together like real people. You can always find that at lukestory.com/events, where you can get tickets and sometimes even discounts on the entrance fees and things like that. And with that, my friends, I'll just invite you to this Sunday's rebroadcast show on the Daniel Vitalis WildFed podcast. And then we'll be back with our regular programming next Tuesday for episode 374. It's called The Wild Life of the Last Hunter-Gatherers and the Truth About Keto with Dr. Anthony Gustin. So that was an interesting one to record because I've not yet done a show about keto, and I know it's kind of all the rage. I mean, I've experimented with it. I would say that I've definitely not been someone who's been able to commit to it or really seen the purpose of trying to do so and the amount of discipline that it requires. So I sat down with Dr. Anthony Gustin. I don't know if he even owns this company anymore, but he founded a company called Perfect Keto. I really like their products, actually, which is how I first learned of him. But we ended up talking about his trip to Africa. And the conversation just meandered into a totally different direction. And I just rolled with it and ignored my notes. And it had very little to do with keto in the end. And we really just talked about really honoring these ancient civilizations that have remained intact, albeit hanging by a thread, and one of which he went and spent a couple weeks with. And so we really just talked about what it looks like face to face with natural humans that are outside of this industrial matrix that we call Western civilization. So next week's episode, I'm really, really excited to share with you. Thank you so much again for joining me. And you can count on me to keep these conversations coming. And I'll be back Sunday and Tuesday. Take care.